Well, good evening, ladies. Oh, we got a small group to get started here. All right. Well, welcome to the Wild OpNet. This is Catherine, AC4YL Net Control for this evening's net. We meet every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on the Echolink Alara conference node. Be sure to invite all YLs who know to join us. We ask that only YLs or female ham radio operators check in and participate. The purpose of this net is to encourage you to become and stay active with amateur radio, help each other enhance our operating knowledge and skills, and have fun. During the net, feel free to join us in the NFARL Do Drop In chat room by opening any web browser and going to nfarl.dodropin.org. Just put your name -- call sign in the box and click Login. YLs who would like to check in, please give us your call sign, name, and current location. And don't forget that there is a 3 to 4 second delay when transmitting through Echolink. This is Catherine, AC4YL. We will now begin taking check-ins. Please call now.
AE7MB, Margaret, Battleground, Washington.
BE3 BHG, April, from Welland, Ontario, Canada.
KW1YL, Brenda, New Haven, Connecticut.
Okay, go ahead and start with those check-ins. So far we have Margaret, AE7MB in Washington, April, VE3BHG in Ontario, and Brenda, KW1YL in Connecticut. All right, do we have any other YLs who would like to check in? Please call now. Okay, not hearing anyone, but I do see Melanie is here with us, AG4YL, and Lauren is connected so she can record the net, K9GHV in Illinois. And I see we have the Bedford, Virginia repeater linked in here with us this evening. So good evening to anyone out there in that listening area. And looks like Lauren also has her repeater up and running and connected. That's awesome. Very good. So we'll see. We might have some other YLs join us here in a few minutes. And in the meantime, we'll go ahead and get started. So first off, we'll go down the list here and give everybody a chance to tell us what you gals have been up to. So to kick it off, we'll go ahead and go to Margaret first. So Margaret, AE7MB, how are you, and what have you been up to over the last several days?
Well, good evening, ladies. Let's see. Not too much has been going on here. I have been working on a quilt for my husband for Christmas. And other than that, it's just the same old, you know, making the bed and doing the dishes and going to the grocery and all of those kinds of things. So nothing really to talk about. But thank you for asking. And with that, I will turn it back to you. This is AE7MB over to AC4YL.
All right, very good, Margaret. Well, glad you guys are doing well. And yeah, it's hard to believe that Thanksgiving is next week here in the United States. And before we know it, Christmas will be here, and then New Year's, and then recovery. So very good, Margaret. Well, it's good to hear from you this evening. All right. Let's go over to April, the E3BHG. How are you doing, April?
This is VE3BHG. I'm doing well. We actually had a little dusting of snow today, which was unusual for us in Niagara. Well, we do get snow, but it usually takes its sweet time and doesn't stick around much. So it was kind of neat. Just a very, very fine, you know, those flakes that you can hardly see. And what else? Today I baked a carrot cake for my husband who's going away for the weekend. He's feeding a bunch of guys at a conference that he's going to. He's bringing lunch for about 30 people. And I have to ice that later. And I just watched, I don't know how many of you ladies have Netflix, but I just watched the movie. I think I might have mentioned it last week. It's called The Holiday Calendar, and it's a Netflix original, and it was shot in Niagara-on-the-Lake. And if you know Niagara-on-the-Lake, you recognize the buildings, and they did a really good job with it. It was really cute. It's about this antique advent calendar and how it predicts the future for the person who has it in their possession. Interesting little thing. It's a little bit of a, you know, it's a chick flick, I guess you'd call it, but it's, you know, it's a typical Christmas feel-good story, so it's kind of nice. And you know, so that's kind of my kickoff to the Christmas season, other than listening to some Christmas music this afternoon while I was baking. And so that's yeah, that's pretty well it. Like, that movie was very absorbing, and so it was kind of, you know, it's very rare that I actually get myself lost in something. It was kind of cute. So as far as the net, as far as any ham-related stuff, not a whole lot going on. Still kind of, you know, this week, because our club meeting was on the Wednesday, we didn't have our Wednesday night net. So hopefully next week I'll be able to log into the club net. And there's my timer, so I don't really have that much to say. So I'm going to, this is V3BHD, turning it back over to Catherine, AC4YL.
Oh, very good, April. Oh, I love carrot cake, by the way, and the best kind is just the good old-fashioned cream cheese icing. Some people put vanilla icing, and I'm like, why? That's just so wrong. Everybody knows that your red velvet cake and your carrot should have cream cheese frosting. I'm just saying. Anyway, now you're making me hungry, and I just had dinner. Dessert. Oh, pass me a slice, will you? Awesome. And, yep. Well, let's see. We haven't even got through, well, Thanksgiving here in the States, so you got to, of course, here you got to watch the Charlie Brown, you know, Great Pumpkin, and then you got to watch the Thanksgiving Charlie Brown special, and then you got to watch the Christmas special. So I'm sure I'll be kicking those off here. Time to watch the Thanksgiving one maybe next week or over the weekend after the radio time, which I'll get to in a minute. But good to hear from you, April. And yeah, you're not the only one getting some snow. Nisi has joined us, K1ULN, and it's just starting to snow up there in Massachusetts, so we're going to catch up with her in just a minute. But before we do, let's see how Brenda's doing, KW1YL. How are you, Brenda? What's going on up your way?
This is KW1YL, and I'm happy to be back on the net for the past 2 Thursdays. I couldn't be on the net because my husband and I, who are both VEs, were teaching a tech class at the Makerspace where we are doing the radio bench, Make Haven, and we actually, the class students all passed, 4 of them. We only had 4. And they went to the Yale Radio Club this past week, and all 4 have become new hams, new techs. Unfortunately, none of them are YLs, and they're all male, but they are new techs, and so we did that. And so now I'm back, so I'm happy to be back on the net. And we're still working on the antennas in both places. We don't have HF yet, either at the Makerspace or at home yet, but we are certainly taking steps in both places of various sorts. I won't bore you with the details, but we're working on it. So that's basically what's going on with me. So KW1YL, back to net control.
All right, very good, Brenda. Well, no worries. 4 new techs, that's awesome. We got to get them on the air too. It doesn't matter, and that's always fun. And it's kind of fun to go back and at least I think back to getting started and kind of the concerns or hesitations and trepidations when you're first getting started. And it's kind of like going through this cycle where first you listen, you're afraid to talk on the local repeater, so you do a lot of listening, and then you get up the nerve to talk on the repeater, and then after a while, I don't know about y'all, but I kind of was ready to move on to something else, or I should say add to it, and get on HF and do some contesting, so that definitely moved me to get my general class license, albeit I did get on 10 meters a bit, because the bands were still pretty well open, and not long after I got my license, so as a technician you can play on single sideband on certain portions of 10 meters here in the States, and so I did get to spend some time there, and a lot of people were working a lot of DX on 10 meters at the time. I know Lori, K4UPI, I think she got her license a little bit before I did, and she did a lot, she got a lot of her working toward a DXCC on 10 meters, I believe. So those were good times, and they'll be back again, and we'll have good band conditions and be able to work those. So, Brenda, you got a little bit of time to get that HF antenna up. That's very good. It's good to hear from you. I'm glad you guys are doing good and been busy working on the Makerspace. That's awesome. All right. Next up, let's go to Nisi, KA1ULN. Nisi, how are you, and what you been up to?
Hey, Kat, and all YLs, happy Thursday before Thanksgiving. Catherine, thank you so much for shooting me the Parks on the Air information. Thank you so much. I think me and Alicia, we did the last Parks on the Air yesterday because it was really cold. We are trying to do activations near the ocean. We live, the closest one is about 17 minutes away from us, the ocean. And we ended up in Salem, Mass, where everybody knows the witch story, the Witches of Salem, Mass. It's a great activation, a great place to set up for Parks on the Air. So let's see, one other thing I was going to mention. The night before the activation, I made I was using an InFed with my KX3, an InFed with the Spider Beam, which is basically a 40-foot mast. And I wasn't very successful with that and a couple other activations. So the night before, Tuesday night, I made a inverted V out of 16 gauge wire that I got from Home Depot. I'll put this out on my blog and out on the YO OpNet. 16 gauge copper wire from Home Depot. It was only like 12 bucks. And some ladder line. I used a 450 ohm ladder line that you can get at probably HRO or online. I don't think it was very expensive. So you need about less than 40 feet because that's how tall the mass, if you will, spider beam is. I just made it and I brought it to the Parks on the Air and it tuned right up. It's 80 meters, so 124 feet of that 16 gauge copper wire. 124 feet is an 80 meter dipole, if you will, or inverted V, 124 feet. So I had the 124 feet inverted V, so you cut it in half and 62 feet each side. Put the ladder line in the middle, and it tuned up, bingo, 1-to-1 on all bands. Can you believe it? 80, 40, 20, and 10 even. I did 10, let me reset real quick. Alrighty, so 124 feet of, you can use coax, but 16 gauge, what I really wanted was 22 gauge, is like some thread, if you will, very thin, very, very delicate. 22 gauge wire is very delicate. But 16 gauge copper wire, 124 feet is an 80 meter antenna. And it worked beautiful. I'll put it out on YO OpNet in my blog, but it was so cold last night. It was so cold over near the ocean. I put it up, but I was outside and too cold. I didn't make any cues, but that's okay. I'll perfect this, and in springtime, I'll be extra ready to do some more activations. So, Kat, thank you so much for the locations to where you should post on Parks on the Air. So, Parks, www.parksontheair.com, AIR.com. Everybody should at least make an account there so you can be an activator, or you can be a hunter, or you can be a spotter, and you can still get, you can still get certificates for just spotting people, and yeah, and a lot more. Go out on the site, is full-bodied, if you will. AC4YLKA1ULN, back to you.
All right. Very good. Nisi, you, that antenna, you fed that with ladder line in the middle, right? Is that right?
QSL. I have other inverted V's, but a guy on Facebook made me realize, bingo, ladder line is low loss, but you can't have it touching anything. You explain to him, Kat, what the benefit of a ladder line is. Back to you, my friend.
All right, very good, Nisi. Yeah, ladder line is definitely the way to go. Like you said, low loss, but it is important that you don't want to try and not touch it. You don't want it to touch anything, especially metal. But it's definitely the way to go and feed your antennas whenever possible. You'll see it a lot too. A lot of hams use ladder line coming into the shack for sure. There's something else I was going to ask you, but I forgot. I can't remember what it was. Hang on a second. Okay. So yeah, 16-page copper wire. There you go. $12. Hey, you can't beat that. And you're right, Nisi. Ladder line and window line are the same for those that may have heard the term window line before and aren't necessarily familiar with the term ladder line. But yeah, it's you don't have to have a Ballon with the ladder line fed antenna like you do with the coax fed. So, all right, very good. Did you? I don't remember if you said this. I apologize, but I didn't catch it. Were you gals able to make any cues for your activation?
QSL. So I was with Alpha Charlie 1 Echo Whiskey, Alicia. She lives about 10 miles away from me, so, and she got a nice big Ford F-150. So we take her truck. So yeah, I'm QRP, the KX3 is QRP, 5 watts. I was doing CW on 40 meters. She was staying on, all the excavations she did, she's trying to stay on the, quote, YL frequency, 14288. Sometimes she veers off of that, 14287. And I think she made about 14 cues. You can see it out there on parksontheair.com. So, one second, Catherine. So ladder line, you do not typically you don't need a Ballon because the ladder line, window line, if you think of it as a window or a ladder, it looks just like a ladder. It is already balanced, if you will, if you think about a window and a ladder, that it really is already balanced. However, I've heard of, and I did use a 4-to-1 Ballon. I actually put up at the top of the inverted V, I connected the ladder line. So I connected one side of the ladder to one 62-foot piece of 16-gauge wire, and the other side of the ladder, if you will, to the other side of the 62-foot piece of 16-gauge wire. And this is another thing I just figured. I've never even thought about this. At the bottom of the inverted V, at the bottom of the ladder line, I had a 4-to-1 Ballon, and then a very small piece of coax, a very small piece of, because the KX3 has a B and C connector, and I had a very small piece of, it basically was an adapter. So it was like a 3-inch piece of coax to B and C. So yeah, I did use a Ballon with the ladder line, and I have been reading that people are doing that. Some people even use a 9-to-1 Ballon, depends on what frequency they're trying to do and what they're trying to do. So, but typically you see ladder line with no Ballon. Back to you, Catherine.
All right, very good, Nisi. So some great points there. I was just doing some quick search too on that. There's some. I'm going to see if I can put this page out here for you gals too, since we're talking about ladder lines. KV5R put out a nice article on ladder line. I just put the link in the chat, and he's got a list of ladder line myths as well. So he talks about some of the advantages of using ladder line and why. Basically, it's a way to efficiently feed a non-resonant multiband antenna. So like Nisi was saying, she's able to get a 1-to-1 on her on several bands there with her antenna, which is awesome. And Nisi, when you post those photos, yeah, if you can kind of zoom in at that point where you have the ladder line coming in, that would be cool. I don't know if you have it up in the air right now or not, or if you have it down and plan on taking it with you portable, but it's really cool. So check out that article. It's good. I'm sure there's several others. It's the one I could find really quickly here, but it's a nice article. It's not lengthy. so you can kind of get the gist, so to speak, of using Ladderline and some of the advantages of doing so. So thank you, Nisi. Appreciate that. And so I want to circle back around, and Nisi had asked me a question. She had mentioned that she'd asked a question about where to post. So when you want to activate a park, there's basically two large organizations that promote activating parks. And this is all, one's been around for many years, and that's Worldwide Flora and Fauna, and KFF is the U.S. arm of that organization. And then there's a separate organization called Parks on the Air, or POTA. These are two different groups. But the nice thing is several of the entities or parks that you can activate at are the same on both. Like they exist on both, in both groups, that you can activate that same area. Let me pause for a reset. So ideally, when you want to try and make as many queues as you can to activate a park, there's different rules for each organization. For example, for an activation to be complete on Parks on the Air, you need to make 10 queues. To make an activation, a full activation for WWFF, KFF, you need 44 queues. Now, keep in mind that for KFF, you do not have to make all 44 in the same visit to the park. So if you go to the park on Saturday and you make 25 queues, you can make the difference on another visit to the park. You can go back Sunday, you can go back a week later, and finish up and make enough, at least get to 44 queues, and that will count as activation. So to help you take advantage and get the most out of your experience, here's what I would recommend. Before, maybe 2 to 3 days before you plan on going out and actually activating, both of these groups have Facebook pages. Both of these groups have websites. So I would suggest you go to both organizations and first see if the entity you're going to or the park you're going to is represented with both organizations. For example, we have Kennesaw Mountain National Battlefield Park here in Georgia, okay? They're listed on both Parks on the Air and KFF. And they are assigned it's assigned a number, or, you know, we'll just say a number to make it easy. So for Parks on the Air, it may be entity 134, and for KFF, it may be, you know, 631. Okay, we'll just throw that as an example. So you can activate for both organizations at the same park, so that folks that are chasing Parks on the Air for POTA, they can have that activation count. Some are chasing parks for KFF, so if you give them that designator, thank you, that's the word I was looking for, thanks Melanie. If you give them that designator, then they can count that toward their chasing award. Let me pause for a reset. And some will actually chase both for Parks on the Air and KFF. So you can actually give whoever you're working both designators for both organizations so that they can have that in their log, okay? So what I would recommend is 2 to 3 days before you go to that park, check it out, see if it's represented by both organizations, because then you have an advantage, because you'll have an even larger number of people that may want to work you, especially if that park hasn't been activated very often. It's kind of like a DXpedition on a very small scale, okay? Because there are a lot of parks that have never been activated for either organization, okay? So it's a great opportunity to find one close, and one may be very, you know, close to you. So it gives you a chance to go out, go to the website 2 to 3 days before you go, post on those sites where you plan to be, the time you plan to be there, and what band you plan to be on, because you may not have a frequency yet. Odds are you won't, because it may shift a little bit. And then, so post it there. Post the same information 2 to 3 days before on both Facebook groups so that everybody knows you're going. the morning of, before you leave, in case you don't have internet access, especially if you don't know whether you're going to at the site or not. Do that again. Post, remind everybody what time you're going to be there, what band you're going to be on, and go ahead and provide them the designator and the name of the park so that they can check their log and go, hey, I didn't work that one, okay? And then they're going to look for you during that time slot, okay? And you might want to go ahead and suggest on your website post and your Facebook group post, ask people to spot you. If they hear you, whether they work you or not doesn't matter. Maybe they're mobile and they can't work you at the time. If they hear you, ask them to post for you, if they can, what frequency you're on and the park that you're activating. So that can bring traffic to you while you're activating at that site. And then obviously once you get there, if you have internet access, spot yourself. And then if you can't, or even if you can, go ahead and encourage those that you work. Say, hey, if I haven't been spotted in a while, do you mind spotting me, or when you change frequencies? All right, let me pause for a reset. Okay, enough for me for a moment. Let's go to Melanie for a comment. She wants to add something here. Melanie, AG4YL, please go ahead. AC4YL in the group.
Okay, thank you very much. Melanie, AG4YL here, and I see Nisi Bigfoot, the main www.ff.co website address on there. That is correct, and you will find the event calendar on there for all WWFF-KFF activations. There is an advantage also with WWFF-KFF in that people chase and activate, because WWFF-KFF is a worldwide organization. By posting on there, you'll get DXers. I know when Catherine and I were working National Parks on Air, there were DX stations that also liked to, as they called it, chase parks or hunt parks from DX locations, even though National Parks on the Air and POTA was an ARRL U.S. kind of a thing for obviously celebrating the 100th birthday of the National Parks system here in the United States. There were European contesters and DXers that loved to collect, if you will, parks and chase parks and get parks in the logs. So that also works with WWFF, and that there are people from all over the world that may work you. And I know there's probably people out there going, but what if I just do QRP on 5 watts? It doesn't matter. If you've ever been in a worldwide contest, there are QRPers out there, and they do make contacts, DX contacts. It's not uncommon. Maybe a little harder now because of the ban, but this is all beside the point. The other thing, and Catherine mentioned self-spotting. Self-spotting is allowed and encouraged, not just ahead of time on the calendar, but if you can have access to the cluster somehow. If you could get a cell phone signal that you can do this on your phone and get up the cluster and self-spot. For those of you, including myself, I love DX Heat. DX Heat, if you're logged in as you can't self-spot on DX Heat. It's keeping it from self-spotting, but you can on the other DX clusters. Self-spot as much as possible, or if you think you're going to go into a dead zone, what we used to do is, we'd say, okay, do we have cell phone coverage in there? Before we got to it, we'd go ahead and self-spot and give our approximate location. But most importantly, when you self-spot, if you're at a location, Catherine used Kennesaw Mountain as a great example. If you're at a location that has both a WWFF designator and a Parks on the Air designator, self-spot using both designators and put WWFF-KFF designator, and that designator will always start with KFF here for U.S. designations. So KFF-1234. and then your POTA designator, which doesn't have a alpha prefix on it, it'll just be a number, 5678. And put both of those on there. Put POTA and put KFF. So you get twice as many people interested in it. That's all I have to say. I'm going to pass this back over to Catherine and Annette. This is AG4YL.
All right, awesome. Thanks, Melanie, for that additional information and those comments, and great reminder there about putting both designators on the spot. That's awesome. And yeah, and again, you can do that on the spotting cluster as well as when you post on the Facebook site and the website. Go ahead and put both. Say, listen, I'm doing a dual activation here, so here's the designator for POTA, here's the designator for KFF, and go ahead and provide that. And that'll help you bring some traffic in. And as Melanie mentioned, again, with KFF, there's a lot of DXers that have been playing and chasing parks all over the world. I think Shirley even mentioned this once. I think her OM Jim likes to go out and work in some parks, play radio in some parks out there in Australia. So it's been around a long time, and so you'll have a lot of folks that want to work you. Not to mention all the fun experience of working portable. I mean, I love to hear Nisi come in and tell us what she and Alicia have been working on, trying different antennas and experimenting, because that is what's at the heart of amateur radio. So fantastic. Thanks, Melanie, for those additional comments. That's very, very helpful. Okay, so very good, and great to hear from you, Nisi, and glad that you gals had a fun time and got to get out there, albeit cold. Melanie and I know what it's like to be out there and activate in some chilly weather. I won't say cold because, you know, it's not like we were in a blizzard or anything, but it sure felt cold. One time we were up on Kennesaw Mountain and it was really darn cold. And another time we were up in the Great Smoky Mountains, up on the mountain actually, and when you go across the parking lot area to the actual park area, there's a little, like a rock wall. So we were sitting on that, and boy, I'll tell you what, boy, that's cold. All right, Nisi had one more comment here real quick, so I'll pass this back over to her. Go ahead, Nisi, K1UL and AC4YL with the group.
So since I've been talking to the YLs here, it's 32 degrees and the ground is totally covered with snow. When I first started, it had just started, and then you know how it first starts melting on the ground, and now everything's covered. So I really would like to challenge everybody that can hear my voice to try this, to just try it in your backyard, or try it just on your back deck, or you know, try it without anything attached to the house. It really, really, really is an education. You feel like when you first got your tech license, you're like, yes! When you even just get it set up, and you're like, yes! You just feel so good that you've done this all yourself without, you know, being at home and using electricity. And it really is. I highly encourage you to try it. Maybe you can research it during the winter time. But for Catherine in Georgia and those out west, you don't have to worry about snow. Okay, back to you, Catherine. Thank you so much for elaborating on this. I hope us three didn't overwhelm everybody with this, but we're going to put it out on YLOpNet and blogs and every place. And if you want more information, just email any of us, and I'll send it direct to you. Back to you, Catherine.
All right, awesome, Nisi. By the way, it's 33 degrees down here in Georgia. So while we don't have snow, we've just had 3 days of nothing but rain and dreariness. You wondered if the sun ever bothered to come up. It was just so dreary and kind of somewhat depressing down here for the last 3 days. It was cloudy today with some misty rain. But we are supposed to get some warmer weather this weekend. So, you know, while we don't really have snow, we get the ice issue down here, which is lots of fun. Like I said, it's 33 down here right now, so we're having a nice chilly evening for sure. All right, well, while we were chatting, Ann's just jumped in. KC9YL's just connected in, so good evening to you. And Yukiko, 7K4TKB, has also joined us on her Friday. So glad to have both of you here with us. We just going down the list and catching up with each other, and we got caught up talking about parks, activating parks and getting out and playing radio in parks. And Nisi was telling us about her and Alicia AC1. Oh, her, I can't think of her call right now, but they went out together and did an activation at a park. Thank you, AC1EW. I knew the W, but the E was escaping me. E escaped. Anyway, all right, very good. So next up, we'll go to Melanie real quick and see if Melanie would like to tell us what's going on, and then we'll go to Ann next, and then Yukiko. So let's catch up with Melanie here real quick, and then we'll go to Ann. AG4YL, AC4YL with the group.
Okay, well, good evening again. AG4YL here, and like I said, it's cold, like 33, and the wind is what gets it. There's always a wind, and I think the low tonight's supposed to be 30, so we are going to have a freeze. But no snow, although I would oftentimes prefer snow here than the rain and then freezing, because then you have, well, ice, and that is not fun here. Ice is not fun here. There's no equipment down here to handle ice, so it does not work out well. Nobody knows what to do with the ice down here. Everybody just sort of stays home, and you don't work, and you hang out because there's nothing to clear the roads. They spray down a brine. It's called a brine solution down here, and they basically they're salt piles, but what they do is they mix it in these big tanks and then spray it on the roads and give the roads this coating of brine. The problem is that then it rains and it washes all the brine coating off, and then that rain freezes. So, yeah, it's not real effective, but it's what there is here. And fortunately, I don't have to work with it too much. Last year when I was, I drive for a living, and I had to sit at home for a couple of days last year when everything got very snowy and icy. And we did have quite a beautiful snowfall, but unfortunately it incapacitated the whole city. Nothing moved. So we took some nice pictures of the snow and sat at home and drank tea and coffee and tried to stay warm, made chili, and did things like that. But I'm really looking forward to this weekend. I specifically made sure that I had this weekend off to play November Sweeps, and we've been talking about it for the last few nights. So I'm looking forward to doing that, and I think Catherine and I are going to play it together this year, although I think we're still going to do single op. And there's plenty of time. The contest is, I think, like 48 hours long, but you can only operate for 24 of that time. So that should be fun. I'm going to let it drop for a reset here. Okay, AG4YL returning, and looking very forward to playing November Sweeps with our Alpha antenna systems, what they used to call the Easy Military. Now I think they just call it the FMJ. Great antenna, all band. Played with it a little bit earlier this year in Huntsville when we went out for the Huntsville Hamfest and played in the parking lot of the hotel, and it was quite effective and can pretty much work all bands, and it's very compact. It's a great piece of work. Steve, you've become friends with the owner and creator, Steve James, who's just fantastic. He's scary smart. So looking forward to doing that and to some better weather. And what else? I think that's about it. Oh, and I love Nisi's challenge. And no, Nisi, I don't think you're alienating anybody. I think, and I'll reinforce this. Everybody should try it once. Play portable. It's not as hard as you think it might be. It's not as daunting as you think it might be. And it can be as simple as just put a car battery. Anyway, you can get a 12-volt supply with enough amps to power your radio, and go play. Nisi made a doggone antenna. Of course, it's Nisi, and that's what she does. Hi. But go out and have some fun and just try it one time. Try it one time, and it's like you'll catch the bug because it's so much fun, and you'll learn so much. And that to me is it's really fun. It's really, really fun. And you can make an antenna like the one I've got on my QRZ page. It's a simple ham stick dipole. Tuning it took longer than anything else, but once you get it tuned, boy, can you play radio. Yeah, that's about it for me. I'll go ahead and send this back to Catherine and Danette. This is AG4YL.
All right, very good. Sorry, ladies, I had to disconnect for a second and reconnect because somebody connected direct to me here because I have conferencing turned on. So let me turn that off real quick here. I forgot I had turned it on when Melanie and I went to do the forum at the Chattanooga Hamfest, and we were playing around with it, showing the gals how you can link up multiple people and repeaters all together, kind of like we do right here on the net. So anyway, with that, thanks, Melanie, and yeah, we're excited to get out to Huntsville this weekend, and we're going to head to Gigaparts for a big manufacturer event. And that's running all day Saturday, and the cool part is it ends at 4. The contest for November Sweep starts at 4 o'clock Eastern, so that we'll probably see how that goes when we wrap things up at Gigaparts, get back to the hotel, and get set up and have a lot of fun playing November Sweep. So we're very excited about that. Also, this past weekend, we attended the Ham Jam event, and I have to say I thoroughly enjoyed it, and for me the highlight of that event, well, there were really two highlights. One, it was being able to catch up with club friends, in particular Lori and Daryl, K4UPI and K4RGK. It's great to catch up with them and all the other awesome Norfolkites there. But the second really big highlight for me was Jerry's presentation. I thoroughly enjoyed Jerry's presentation so much. I cannot wait until they get the recording of that posted up. I'm really ecstatic to actually watch her presentation again. Jerry is AI6K, and she just did an awesome job talking about, she actually spent her time talking about mentors, and I'm going to reset here for a second. So when we talk about mentors, it's really important, I think, in the world of amateur radio because it can be daunting and it can be intimidating, especially for those that don't have like I would say more of a scientific or electronic background. They may feel a little overwhelmed with all the antenna speak, okay? I know I am oftentimes. I don't come from an electronics background. I'm a techie person. I like computer technology, but I didn't have the electronics background, not even at a very basic level. So I'm often intimidated, but what mentors help you do is overcome that intimidation and really bring joy into the world of amateur radio so that you can really get a full-on experience with it in so many aspects. It's not necessarily just what we call the technical or scientific or electronic side of it, but it could be something as simple as contesting, how about satellite operating, how about a basic ham shack setup, how about a simple antenna, how do I connect this stuff, okay? Mentors help on all of those levels, and they can also help keep you excited about amateur radio, and I think it brings such a family aspect to it, and you meet so many people. Amateur radio makes this world smaller in the sense that it brings us together. I mean, look at this net right here, right now, who we have on here. We've got April in Ontario. We've got, several gals from other states spread around here. We've got Yukiko coming in from Tokyo, Japan. All right here in one little group, and we can talk to each other from the East Coast to West Coast to out of the country. How cool is that? And that's what amateur radio does. And mentors can help keep you excited and help you really experience amateur radio on such a wonderful level. So, mentors can be on all kinds of levels. It can be just sharing a point or two right here on the net, like Nisi's comments and encouraging us to participate in activating sparks, or get out in your backyard and set up a portable station. That counts too. Okay, it's the experience of that and what that is like, and still experience that. And so we've got a great group of gals here that do a great job and bring so much life and spice to the net and to amateur radio at all different levels, like Margaret with running the classes that she does, and some of you other gals that have also participated in encouraging folks or helping with DV test sessions, etc. But Jerry was sharing with us that, some of the people that really kept her going were her amateur radio mentors, and how a lot of them that have passed now and are now silent keys, but she's talking about how wonderful they were and helpful they were to her in different aspects of her life, including amateur radio, because they inspired her and encouraged her to keep going. And we all need that. It's especially true in kind of a male-dominated hobby. So when we have those mentors, men and women alike, again, it keeps us going and keeps us having fun and excited about amateur radio. But I absolutely loved her presentation. As soon as it gets uploaded to either Norfolk's YouTube channel or wherever it is they post that, I'm going to be sure and share that with you gals, because I really encourage you to watch that. It's an absolutely wonderful presentation. All right, with that, enough about that. Great time at Ham Jam. Didn't win anything on the prize side of things, but I think I walked away with something more valuable. So, yay! It was a lot of fun. Definitely well worth it. Let's go to Ann and catch up. KC9YL. How are you doing, Ann? What's new with you from AC4YL in the group?
Thank you, Catherine. That was very interesting what you were just talking about with that mentoring. It kind of reminds me of Miss Nisi, who is like my absolute favorite cheerleader, and just certainly enjoy her. You can do it. She talked me into ordering a QRP kit for a CW key for my KX3. So that isn't quite a work in progress yet. I have to get my soldering iron yet and order a couple of things off of Amazon so that I can get going with that. But she says I can do it, so I believe that I can do it. Kind of a lot of stuff going on around here. We're in the process of selling my dad's farm that us kids inherited to my nephew. So we got kind of lots of things going on with that. My daughter is moving out of the house. She got a job in Appleton, which is about 20-ish miles away. So she's got an apartment that we'll be moving her into on Saturday. So she spent the last couple of days walking around the house and putting things of mine that are in boxes, but that's okay because it'll declutter my life a little bit more. Had a colonoscopy yesterday, so that kind of took me out of commission for 2 days, but everything went well with that. So always recommend testing for early detection. Can never be too healthy. I was at HamFest last weekend and had a membership booth for our DX Club and the YL group, and did sign up a new YL and handed out membership information and harmonics to all of the ladies that were there. So got to do that and talk to a couple of ladies that I normally wouldn't have chatted with. Getting ready for sweepstakes. I updated my software just a few minutes ago, and I'm actually going to take the time and go through my N3FJP contest checklist, which I've always wanted to do and just never have taken the time to do that. So not much else going on here. I suppose we'll be out of the loop next week, so happy Thanksgiving to everyone. And Catherine, can't wait to see that presentation that you were talking about. That sounds just awesome. So sorry I came in late tonight, but nice catching up with everybody. This is KC9YL.
All right, awesome, Ann. Well, it's great to hear from you. We've been missing you, and it's always nice when you can make it here. And it's great to catch up with you. And I'm sorry, I just can't say enough about that presentation. It was very moving to me. I don't know if it was the timing of it or what, but I'm going to put in here in the EchoLink chat, that is, the link for the HamJam website. It's got Jerry's name and call sign. She has her own website, jerryellsworth.com. There's also a link to a video of Tim Duffy, K3LR, interviewing her, which is actually a very interesting interview. Check it out. You can learn more and see what Jerry's all about. She's just got this awesome personality, and let me tell you, it was so much fun. It was cool because in the background, unfortunately she didn't physically make it to HamJam, but she did her presentation via Skype. So she was there at her home, and it was really cool because in the background behind her were all these pinball machines. So the guys had to ask, okay, Jerry, what's up with all the pinball machines? So she's like, well, other than my passion for amateur radio and spending so much money on amateur radio equipment, she's got, I don't know how many, how many pinball machines does she have? Some ridiculous amount, like, oh, shoot. I want to say 800, but maybe it's more like 80. I mean, just this crazy amount of pinball machines that she has. So, I mean, she's just a wonderful personality and a lot of fun, and her presentation was just phenomenal. In fact, I'm not going to tell you the details because I'm really hoping they post this, but at the end of her presentation was a question that one of the gals, who's a member of the club, Aubrey, and she's also a member of another ham radio club up in Cumming, Georgia, asked her, and the answer was just spot on. And I'm not going to tell you what it was because I want you to watch it and experience that. It was great. So looking forward to that presentation being posted. Let me pause for a reset. Okay, yeah, and an additional comment on Aubrey. So Aubrey is 15 years old, and she had a question for Jerry about any advice that Jerry had for her at her age, and kind of, Jerry shared a little bit of history and what she's done in her life and her movement from one arena to the other in terms of career and all that fun stuff. And Jerry's answer was just phenomenal. I'm not going to tell you what it was because I want you guys to watch it. There's another video that Jerry did, and I don't remember where it is, but you can probably search for it. But Jerry, I think was it an interview or just one that they had done at Quartz Fest? I'm trying to remember. Melanie's putting in here the chat info, hopefully. But it was another great video with her, YouTube video, okay, of her at Quartz Fest. And again, it gives you just an idea of just how Jerry's mind works is amazing. So it's just really cool. Do a search for that too in the meantime while you're waiting for the cool Ham Jam video presentation. And I really can't wait. I'm going to be pushing the club to get that up. All right. So Ann, great to catch up with you. Glad you're staying busy, and I couldn't agree with you more about Nisi and her encouraging spirit and the you can do it attitude, because you know what? You can. And in light of your comment about soldering, Melanie reminded me about Adafruit has a great soldering tutorial and video, so I posted the link to that in the Echolink chat. So check that out too for any of you gals that have an interest in soldering. Okay, I've run my mouth enough. Let's go to Yukiko and catch up with her. How are you doing, Yuki? It's great to have you here on the net with us. 7K4TKB, AC4YL in the group.
Hello everybody, it's been a while since my last participation. This is 7K4TKB Yukiko in Tokyo, Japan. It's Friday morning, about 11 a.m. It's a beautiful day, sunny, beautiful day, and temperature is about 64 degrees Fahrenheit, and it would go down to about 45 Fahrenheit at night. So it's been, the weather is fine these days. Well, the past few months I've been doing a lot of things as an amateur radio operator. My Wild Club in Japan, JLRS, Japanese Ladies Radio Society, they started to do the YLCQ Day. We designated the second Sunday every month. It is called the YLCQ Day, so that a lot of our members get on the 40-meter band, and each has 1 hour allocation to call CQ, and then we put the bottom to the next person. And I participated in this YLCQ Day last Sunday. The weather, not weather, but the band condition was not so good, so we didn't enjoy a lot though. But we're going to do that the next month or so. So that's what I've been doing. And also, this coming Sunday, you're talking about the portable operation, and we're going to do the portable operation too here in Tokyo. Only this core area, but we're going to have a handheld transceiver operation picnic in a park in Tokyo, near Tokyo Bay, looking at the bay and looking at the ships going down, going on the sea. So in Japan is very much like disaster-prone country, and in Tokyo we are afraid of the big earthquake may hit in the future. So the handheld transceiver is a very good tool for the rescue, for rescuing, and also the other emergency communication. So what we want to do is, because of that, we need to be accustomed to operate the handheld, and we also have a D-Star operation too, and so that everybody are on the will be in the park and looking at the manual and try to learn how to operate with the handheld together. And after that, we're going to call C2. And weather is not so great, I'm afraid, but we're going to do that in a very small group of our members. And the other things that I'm working on is the mentor project. You're talking about the mentor. Our club also had a mentor project. It just started starting this month. We are start the Wakaba project. Wakaba means new young leaves in Japanese. We have several new members in the club, so we're going to have a mailing list and also some the person-to-person tutorial to how to operate in each band like that. So that's why we are doing that. And also the assignment.
Okay, looks like Yukiko's connection timed out there on Echolink. So there it goes. It looks like it just cleared. All right, Yukiko, you timed out probably about 30 seconds ago or thereabouts. So if you'd like to come back in and please continue with your comments. We're loving this stuff. You gals are keeping busy. So please come on back and continue. 7K4TKB, AC4YL with the group.
Okay, Catherine, sorry about that. I didn't know that there was a time limit for this Echolink Net. The last thing I mentioned about the CQ Ham Radio Magazine, that's my recent kind of like a job as a freelance writer and also editor. So that I'm going to do for the next 12 months. And also, I think I talked about my volunteer work. I had to leave in 1 hour. And I officially registered as a Tokyo Olympic volunteer. I'm going to work on the street in Tokyo for the audience of the Tokyo Olympic Games. Anyway, that's all for me. Okay, back to you, Catherine. AC4YL, this is 7K4TKB, Yukiko from Tokyo, over.
Yukiko, what do you mean that's all? Oh my goodness, you gals just got it going on over there. That is fantastic. So before I forget to ask you, going back, you were talking about, I think you said the second Sunday every month, you gals are doing a YL Call CQ Day. On 40, I think you said, is there a specific portion of 40 that you gals are going to try and operate on, a frequency or thereabouts where we can look for you? That's one question. And second with that, are you gals all using the same call sign, or are you taking turns rotating and you'll use your own call sign? for that, and lastly, will you gals be spotting yourself when you are doing the YLs calling CQ on that day of the month? So I'll pass it back to you, Yuki, AC4YL.
Okay, Catherine, not the same call sign. We have a club call sign, but each operator has to use their own call signs, so that I guess the caller can enjoy, talking to the other person and correcting the different call signs in a day. Next one is not the same frequency every time because of the 40. It's on the 40-meter band. 40-meter band is very crowded, especially on weekends with the all other hams. So it is always difficult to find the frequency available. So that the first person, it's like a relay. It's a relay. So the first person has to find the frequency to use, and the next person use the same one. But sometimes QRN happens, and then the person has to move to the other frequency. But basically, we are going to use the same frequency, but not always the same frequency every month. Okay. So did I answer your question, Catherine? Back to you. This is 7K for TKB. Over.
Okay, very good, Yuki. Yeah, what I'm really trying to get at, without having specifically asked this question, is just curious if we can look for you gals to try and work you when you're on that time during each month. So if you gals are spotting and letting folks know YLs are calling CQ on this frequency, so I understand for sure the frequency is going to shift some. If you gals are going to be spotting yourself, so if say any of us have an opportunity to work you gals, that would be cool, or at least see if we can hear you in spite of crazy band conditions. So that's really what I was trying to ask in the end there, Yuki.
Okay, Catherine, the band condition is not so great these days. Even 40 meter, it's more like a domestic band. But I don't hear any DX overseas stations on that, especially it's during the day, so it's crowded, congested with the domestic ham radio stations. So the starting time is 9 a.m. until the 4 p.m. So it's not a good time for DXing. Okay, back to Catherine. This is 7K for taking over.
All right, awesome, Yukiko. Thanks for straightening me out. All right, very good. Well, that's awesome. I think that's really, really cool that you gals are doing that. I think it's fantastic. You ought to have some fun and get out there and do that. And it sounds like you gals have a lot going on, and I think that's phenomenal. So keep it up, and if there are any photos, I don't think you get on Facebook very much, Yukiko. Of course you wouldn't with all that going on, but if you do happen to get a chance to take any pictures or anything and would like to share that with the group, you can email them to me. I can get them posted on the Facebook group and or the WildOpsGroups.io group so that the gals can see those. If you're unable to post them yourself, that would be great. We'd love to see you gals in action. So fantastic. Y'all are just really rocking it over there. That is wonderful. We're really, really glad you were able to make it on your Friday morning, Yukiko. It's always great to catch up with you. I know you all have a crazy schedule, and this isn't necessarily the best time for you to get on. So thank you so much for coming in. And by the way, Shirley was on 2 or 3 weeks ago and was asking about you and how you were doing. So if you get a chance, maybe you can send her an email and say hello, because she was asking about you and how you were doing. So great to hear from you, Yukiko. Fantastic. Okay. All right, and Yuki, that was, sorry, it was Shirley, VK5YL Shirley, was asking about you, just to clarify that. All right, gals, I think that is everybody. I think we got to everyone tonight. So as far as this weekend goes, this weekend, Melanie had mentioned earlier about ARRL's November Sweeps. So that is going on this weekend for single sideband phone. So Melanie and I will be traveling out to Huntsville for the Gigaparts event. Then we'll be getting on the air and operating for that. We will be doing single op, probably single op low power, which does not allow spotting, skimmers, or any of that. So we will not be able to spot ourselves. But, you know, just tune around on the bands and listen for us. We'll probably more than likely be on 20 or 40. Because those will probably be where we'll have the most luck, depending on the time of day we get on. But we're really excited about that. It's a great contest. And for any of you guys thinking of participating in that, here's a little side note. If you play November Sweeps, if you make, I think it's 100 cues, you can request a pin, a little lapel pin. So I think there's a small fee for that, for them to ship it to you. Obviously, it costs money to make the pins. But if you make 100 cues, it's really, really cool. I think it's like $8 US for that. It's really, really cool. So just play, get on and have some fun. And no, you know, you don't have to make 100 cues. Just get on there, have some fun, tune around the band, see who you can hear. We're really looking forward to it. And again, we had mentioned this, Melanie and I had mentioned this a week or two ago about the exchange. It is a rather lengthy exchange, but it's not really complicated. But it's a great way if you have an interest in contesting and you're trying to understand the logistics of contesting. I would suggest you print the rules out and specifically go to the section on the exchange and listen. Just tune around and listen to each portion, and you'll pick up on what those exchanges are. And pause for reset. Okay, so a couple of things you might want to do if you do anticipate participating in it. And here's what's cool: you could practice. So even if you're not quite to the point where you're comfortable operating or actually making the contact, you can pretend you're making the contact. Download M3FJP's November Sweeps contest. So if you go to m3fjp.com, and under the contest section, there's one that says ARRL contest, because it's an ARRL contest. And under that drop-down is November Sweepstakes. Click on that, download and install it. You can put 30 cues in that log before you have to register it. So even if you're not actually speaking into the microphone, you can practice plugging in your info as if you were playing the contest on the setup screen. And then when you hear a station and you hear them making their exchange with someone and giving out their info, log them. Just practice putting them in the log for that contest. What you put in your setup screen for your information is in the bottom right. So you can kind of pretend in your mind that you're working that station. What would you say next? What are they going to say to you? And you can follow along. It will actually help you get more comfortable the more you listen to that. And again, you can make 30 cues before you have to register the program. But check it out. Highly encourage you to do that. It's a fun contest, and it's very popular. So get on the air, tune around, listen if nothing else, and have a lot of fun. Or get out and play portable. So the main purpose of the November sweeps is for U.S. and Canadian stations to work as many other U.S. and Canadian stations as they can on all of the major bands, with the exception of work bands. Get on there and make those contacts, as many as they can. DX does like to play along anyway. They'll jump in there. You'll work a DX station. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. Log them. Have some fun. And, you know, the cool part is even if they don't count towards your contest score, it's still a contact. It still goes in your main log. You can still upload that contact to LOTW. And who knows, you might get a new country towards your DXCC while you're playing November sweeps. You never know. But just keep in mind that the object of the game is to work as many U.S. and Canadian stations as you can. So you want to call CQ November sweeps, CQ contest sweepstakes, something to kind of indicate who you're trying to contact. That will help you get the right stations that you're trying to work. That is, you're not going to hunt and pounce and tune around and just work stations that are calling CQ. Okay, with that, do we have any other YLs who have joined us that have not checked in this evening that would like to do so? Please call now. Okay, I'm not hearing anyone. So let me take just a moment. As we've mentioned, next Thursday night here in the States is Thanksgiving. So a lot of you will no doubt be spending time with close friends or family and having a big meal. We are not going to have an official net per se. We will be here and to say hello and catch up. So if you would like to pop in, even if it's just for a minute, come on in, say hello. But we will be on starting at 8 o'clock, and then we'll just see if anybody comes in, probably for a few minutes, and then if we don't really see anybody, we may pop off, because there won't be an official net. But if you'd like to come in, say hello, say a quick few words to the gals, please come on. We plan on being on at 8 o'clock as usual next week Eastern Time. That's 0100 UTC Friday morning next week. So please feel free to come in, say hello, and then you can go about your evening if you like. But we won't have an official hour-and-a-half net next Thursday, okay? Any questions, comments, anything else that you gals want to mention? We have just a few minutes here. So if you have something else you'd like to say, come on in while we wrap this up. Okay, not hearing anyone. Again, next week, not an official net, but even if Melanie and I, if you get on at 8:30, and Melanie and I are on, but there's other YLs that are on, just have a QSO. It's kind of an open forum, so please feel free to say hello and chat with each other for as long as you like. Thanks so much, everybody. Hope everybody has a great weekend. Stay safe in whatever weather conditions that you may be having. Happy Thanksgiving. I hope everybody has a great week. We will catch up with you next Thursday for a quick chat and hello. And then we'll be back to our official net the following week after next Thursday. So thanks, everybody. Again, it's wonderful to have you all here. It's great to catch up with some of you that haven't been on in a while. Take care. We'll catch up with you later. Let me officially close this out here. Again, just a reminder, don't forget to post to the WildOpsNet Facebook group. Send you net topics and questions there. Also, don't forget about the wildopsgroups.io group page. Please post questions, anything ham radio related there. We'd like again to take a moment to thank Lauren, KC9ZHE, for live streaming and recording this net whenever possible and making it available to all through YouTube to the WildOpNet YouTube channel. We'd like to thank Alara for the use of this Echolink conference note, the North Fulton Amateur Radio League for their drop-in chat room, and all LinkedIn listening YLs and OMs alike for your ongoing support of this net. This is Catherine, AC4YL, officially closing out the WildOpNet and returning the Alara conference node back to normal use. 33 ladies, happy Thanksgiving. Please feel free to come back in about an hour and join Margaret for the MinnowNet right here on the Alara conference. 33 ladies, take care. AC4YL signing out.